Diddy kept looking at me, and Kanye kept looking at Lauren, and like they were exchanging glances, and I'm like, they're like watching me strangely. And I'm like, okay, let me pretend to drink, and like I'm not actually doing it. And like that seemed to like make them happy, like me like pretending to like to join in. And immediately I'm like, there's something fucking in this drink. There's something in this drink. And I didn't know what to do. And I like, my manager was like across the room, but like close enough, but like not next to me, so I couldn't like whisper to her. But I wanted to tell her, I'm like, hey, don't fucking drink this. There's something wrong with this. But I couldn't. So I reach for my phone and I start to type, and Kanye takes the phone out of my hands and he's like, who are you texting? Like, you don't need to text anyone. Like, we're having a party. And I was like, okay. And he like puts it on one of the speakers. And I'm like, fuck, now what do I do? Like, I don't know what to do. And I see my manager take a sip and I'm like, fuck.
Many celebrities have called out what Diddy did to them in the last few days. Still, Niykee Heaton's statement might give you a thunderbolt. In a video she recorded herself, Niykee shared, "I feel like I'm one of the fortunate ones. I managed to escape when I could. I was assaulted 2 times, which had a big effect on me. I had more bad experiences, but those 2 times really affected me deeply. People would say, only twice, and try to downplay what I went through. But the truth is, no one should experience that ever. Share this story. In fact, I thought I would never reveal it. I felt like carrying it with me to the end because, from my point of view, what's the benefit? Who would trust my words? What good would come out of it? I don't have evidence, and I'm not planning to lodge any complaints. However, due to some recent happenings and new information that's popped up, I thought it would be the right time for me to share a story with all of you. If you've kept up with the news, you would know that many surprising facts about Diddy have been uncovered lately. It's almost undeniable now that there's some unpleasant stuff happening behind the scenes in the music industry. People are now also pointing fingers at Kanye for being involved in similar things. And guess what? Now, people are saying the same things about Kanye. My former manager, Lauren, has been the one to bring these secrets to the surface. Niykee said there was once a time when she decided to stay quiet. But then, the news came out in public, and she saw it. When she read the comments, she saw how people accused Niykee of lying. They said she only did this for fame, money, and popularity. This upset her, so much so that she wanted to respond. She, however, decided not to say anything. But she is sharing this now because she doesn't care what others think. She has moved on from the glittery world of Hollywood and now enjoys a peaceful life in the countryside. So, she really has nothing to gain from sharing this. Regardless, she still wants to share her thoughts because she believes it's the right thing to do. Heaton also said she isn't planning on taking any legal action, so there's no big cash prize waiting at the end of this story. If you've come across any information or posts about an assault case or any kind of improper behavior, or maybe even rumors about Niykee lying, Niykee is now stepping forward to clear things up. She says she's here to reassure everyone that they're not being dishonest. Niykee made a bold statement, saying that everything mentioned in that lawsuit against Diddy is true. And she can vouch for that because she has seen all the proof with her own eyes. More than that, she was even present during one of these infamous parties. One of the reasons for wanting to leave, to distance herself from all this. From the beginning, her loyal fans might have been curious why Niykee isn't friends with anyone anymore. What led to her fallout? The truth is that she had disagreements with the infamous people in the industry. Plus, there were a lot of complications that were hard to ignore. Niykee said she was so overwhelmed with all the problems she was dealing with that she almost lost her passion for music, something she truly loved. One day, out of nowhere, a phone call came their way. To their disbelief, she heard a voice saying, "Kanye wants you to visit his studio." She could hardly believe their ears. Was it actually possible that Kanye knew who she was? That thought seemed to be completely bananas. So, she decided to take up the invitation and visit the studio. Actually, this was not a one-time event. If you read through old news, you'll find that this exciting experience happened more than once.
Fuck, now what do I do? And then I see her take another sip. 2 sips out of this little vodka cranberry cup. And I'm like, oh, what do I do? 2 sips, and I watch her face flush. And all of a sudden, like, I look over and she's speaking really loud and like making jokes, and I'm like, whoa, like, this isn't her. Like, she doesn't make jokes. She's fucking terrified of people. Like, she doesn't even talk. And I was like, it's already hitting her. Like, 100%, I just knew that the drinks were all laced with something.
During her time with Kanye, he was interested in their upcoming music. He was eager to hear their new songs and wanted to share some of his own tunes. Apart from music, he was curious about her fashion game as well. To him, her fashion sense was insanely cool. If you dig deep enough, you'll even find Kanye publicly announcing that Nike's style inspired his Yeezy Season 1 collection. He admired her unique use of shapewear as everyday clothing and found it incredibly rad. In fact, he was so impressed that he had his team explore her wardrobe. Ultimately, he wanted Niykee to model for his collection, Yeezy Season 1. When Niykee arrived at the recording studio with her manager, she was surprised to find Kanye West and P Diddy there. Also, they recognized a few other people, certain men, some big shots from the music industry, Kanye's sound guy, and even Kanye's cousin. They stepped inside, and instantly, Niykee had a strange feeling something was off, because, along with all the music pros, 9 other ladies were present. They are called studio girls. They would show up at the studio dressed like they were ready to hit the nightclubs, and it seemed they were there for one purpose, only to gain the attention of some famous person at the studio. Niykee and her manager found this really strange. They were under the impression that they were there to focus on making some great music. They were invited as professionals. After all, Niykee was dressed in super comfy, oversized sweatpants and a big hoodie, looking completely casual. Her manager was in her usual work outfit, complete with black leggings and a zip-up jacket. All around them, these ladies were decked out in flashy club outfits, while Kanye and Diddy seemed to be in a world of their own, looking like they'd been having a bit too much fun with drinks and probably something else.
And all of a sudden, she like dismisses the studio host. She's like, you can leave, and I'm like, oh my god, like, what's going on? And the girls file out. They go to like a different studio, or they go somewhere, and I'm like, I have to do something. I have to do something. What do I do? And I go and I...
Still, Niykee and her manager decided to give it a go. They thought maybe the ladies would leave soon, and they could get down to creating music, but it felt awkward right from the start. The usual trappings of a studio party were all there: plenty of drinks, mixers, and a weird vibe. Interestingly, Diddy and Kanye offered Niykee and her manager, Lauren, a drink. Niykee found it a bit strange because she's not much into drinking. Despite her reluctance, her manager had previously advised her to accept a drink if someone famous offers it, even if she doesn't want to drink it. It's a way to appear polite and not offend anyone. So, she held onto the vodka cranberry she was given, pretending to take sips, even though she found it gross.
Go to get my phone where Kanye put it on one of the speakers, and as I'm going to get it, I turn and my manager's walking out, and I'm like, no, like, where are you going? So I see her start to leave, and I'm like, where are you going? And she's like, it's fine, I'm just going to the bathroom. And I was like, no, stay. And she's like, it's right there, I'm just gonna go to the bathroom. And I was like, okay. And she walks out, and all of a sudden, I realize that I'm in this studio. The music's low, the lights are dim, but you can still like see everything. And I realize that I'm in the studio with Diddy and Kanye, and they're both off their shit. And there's 3 other men.
Niykee was feeling a bit out of place. With her back against the console, she watched her manager sitting comfortably across the room with Kanye's cousin. A surge of realization hit her. Something felt off. Yet, being quite new in the industry and just 19 years old, she was unsure of how to handle the situation. Niykee couldn't shake off the feeling that Diddy was watching her and Kanye was watching Lauren. Their gaze moved back and forth between the 2 girls, which was quite unsettling. Niykee pretended to sip the drink, trying not to draw attention.
An executive that works with Kanye, his engineer, and his cousin, and me. Alone. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay. And I haven't started freaking out yet. Like, I know what the situation is. I know, like, I know this is a bad place to be in, but I don't really feel scared yet, you know, like, because I'm like, there's other people around, there's other men around, and I know them, like I've known them for a while, like nothing bad's gonna happen. And I'm standing there and I realize that so this is like a pretty like sizable studio. There's like the glass doors, the couch there, a console, another console, the screen, all of that, but it's like it's pretty big, but you can still see and talk to everyone easily. And I realize that I'm standing really close to the exit, and it's a glass door and it opens in, and I'm standing pretty close to it. And I realize all of a sudden that Kanye and Diddy have realized that I'm the only girl in the room. And they're like fucked out of their minds.
Suddenly, she had a hunch that something was not right with the drink. She wished she could alert her manager, but was unsure how to do so. Just as she was typing a message on her phone, one of the guys intervened and placed her phone on a speaker. Soon after, Niykee saw her usually quiet and reserved manager take a few sips from her drink. Her behavior transformed. She started talking loudly, making jokes, and being more sociable, which was completely out of character. This confirmed Nike's suspicion that the drinks were laced with some substance.
It's so hot in here, and I'm like, no, fine. I'm fine like this. And they're like, come on, like it's just us, like we're all just friends, like let us just like see like how you look. And I'm like, okay, I'm fine. And like I still haven't gotten scared yet, you know, like I'm still like, this is a bad situation, I'm creeped out, but like there's no reason to panic, there's other men here. Yeah, so they're coming towards me and I'm like, okay, this is fucked. I don't know where my manager is. I don't know where anyone is. And they're coming towards me more and they're trying to like take my clothes off. And I'm like at that point where I'm like, this is not good, but I'm like still trying to like play it off. Just like, stop, you guys are fucking stupid. Like, get out of here. Like, don't touch me. Did this just freeze? Okay, so let me just get to the point. So they start trying, like, they're like pawing at me. Like, they're both drunk, probably on something else. And I start to get a little bit apprehensive because I'm pretty much like backed up against the wall. Like, there's only one exit and I'm pressed up against this door. And I'm still not completely terrified yet, but I'm like, you guys stop, like stop. And they're getting to the point where they have like ripped my shirt off. And like, I'm like almost fully exposed at this point, and they're both coming at me, and I'm like, you guys, like seriously, this isn't funny anymore. And I look to my left where his executive is. Like, we know him pretty well. Like we've been around him a lot.
Nike's manager even dismissed the other girls present in the room. Looking at her manager enjoying herself in such an unusual way, Niykee knew something was definitely wrong. She wanted to do something, but sitting on a speaker, her phone was out of reach. As she made up her mind to fetch her phone back, she spotted her manager leaving the room. Niykee was left wondering where her manager was going and what was happening.
He's literally 3 feet away from me. Like, if I reached and he reached too, like we could touch, like he's that close. And I look and I'm like, hey, like I give that look where I'm just like, come on, like step in, like this isn't cool, like you're a grown man, like you're like 50 years old, I know you have a family, like you know this isn't right, like do something. And this is the part that for as long as I live, I will never fucking forget. It isn't actually the aspect of being sexually assaulted. That's not what haunts me.
Her manager went out, and suddenly, Niykee found herself alone in a music studio. There, with her, were music legends Diddy and Kanye, who seemed a little tipsy. There were also 3 other men, who Niykee thought were friends. Everything was visible from where Niykee was standing near the door. Suddenly, Diddy and Kanye noticed she was the only girl there. They approached her and started making her uncomfortable. They suggested she should get comfortable and take off her clothes. She kept telling them she was fine. She wasn't scared yet because she knew the men she thought were her friends in there.
It's this. It's as these 2 grown men were pawing at me, trying to take my clothes off, I look over to this man asking for help, and I literally mouth the word help. And we lock eyes. And he looks away. I'm like, okay, there's 2 more men in the room. And I look to his engineer next, who's sitting right next to him.
But then they started coming closer and attempting to remove her clothes. She was against the door, and she started to get scared. She told them to stop, noticed one of the men she recognized, and asked for help, but to no avail. At this point, they had ripped off her shirt, leaving her almost completely exposed. She pleaded with them to stop. It wasn't funny anymore, but her pleas fell on deaf ears, and the incident still haunts her. Niykee further explained the horrific incident by saying that she was with a man she thought was Diddy's cousin and 2 other men in the room. She looked at them for help, but they didn't respond. She even tried getting the attention of a man who was a new dad and married, but he, too, just looked at his phone, ignoring her. She turned to Kanye's cousin next, hoping he'd step in, but instead, he turned his chair away.
And I know that he's married, and he just had a little baby girl, and I'm like, okay, he's gonna do something. And I look at him next, and I'm like, okay, like, do something, say something, do anything. And he looks down at his phone and starts texting. And then I was like, oh, fuck.
That's when Niykee felt a deep fear inside her. She realized that she was all alone and no one would step in to help her. She was truly frightened. They had pulled off her shirt and were trying to take off her pants, and she felt really scared. At that moment, she spoke to God in her mind, asking for help and guidance. Niykee was telling a story about a frightening experience. She found herself stuck against a glass wall and had no way out except through a crowd of people who had too much to drink. Taking courage, Niykee stepped boldly toward them, startling them back. Seizing her chance, Niykee pulled open a door and ran. She found safety in an empty room where she stayed, scared and crying, while she tried to reach her manager for help. Here comes the part she didn't think she should share because it might affect someone else's situation, but it was important. What she saw next was shocking. She was the only sober one there, the only one who saw what really happened. That's why she's involved in a legal dispute now. Thankfully, she managed to help both herself and her manager get home safely. Now, she can't stop thinking about the other girls who were there. They drank the same stuff.
I look at Kanye's cousin next, and I'm like, do something, you know, like fucking do something. And he spins his chair around. And that's when that like gut-wrenching fear set in. And I was like, oh shit, no one's fucking saving me tonight. No one's gonna do anything. No one's gonna do fucking anything. And that's when I was truly fucking scared.
Suddenly, she realized she was trapped, her back touching a glass wall. The only way out was past a group of people behaving very oddly because they had too much to drink. She decided to surprise them by moving toward them quickly. It worked. They were so startled they stepped back, giving her just enough space to reach behind her, open the door, and escape. She ran and found a place to hide in an empty studio. It was dark, and she was alone. She sat there for around 20 or 25 minutes. Feeling really scared and not knowing what to do next, she tried to reach out to her manager for help, but she wasn't answering her messages.
At this point, they had ripped my shirt off, and they were trying to get my pants off, and I realized that I was completely alone, and I closed my eyes for a second, and I was like, God help me. What do I do?
She saw something then that she wasn't supposed to see. It was something very important, something that was true, because she was the only one who hadn't drunk anything that night. She was the only one who wasn't affected by the drinks others had. Because of what she saw, she became part of a big problem and was named in a lawsuit. She got herself and her manager safely into an Uber. Since her manager was affected by the drinks, she didn't remember anything from that night. But what bothered Niykee the most was thinking about the other girls who had been drinking the same things. She was sure none of them managed to leave like she did. She wondered, do they even remember? Do they even know what happened to them that night? Niykee said that the message here is simple. No matter who you are, always be careful in the music industry. If you have kids, especially daughters, it's crucial to advise them never to meet their heroes or go to a recording studio with anyone unless a trustworthy adult like a bodyguard, is with them. Sharing this story doesn't make Niykee feel any better, but she does it to make a point. When similar things happened to Cassie, many people initially didn't believe her. They sent her negative messages until proof came out, and more people backed her story up. Niykee wants to say that we should believe people when they share their experiences because the truth will come out eventually. Talking about all this doesn't gain Niykee anything. In fact, it might put her in a tricky situation, but it's important to her to share her story. This, and other alarming experiences, almost made her stop loving music. She was fortunate to leave the industry without any massive trouble. However, she still feels terrible for those who weren't as lucky. She hoped nothing awful happened to the women she saw at the recording studio that night. She prays for them and thinks about them often. And if you're wondering if she's telling the truth, she invites a strike of lightning to prove her honesty. The big takeaway here is to support each other. Girls should support girls, and everyone should support the truth. Niykee feels grateful that she's now in a safer place, far away from the music industry, living on a farm. Still, she won't share everything that happened because she doesn't think it will help anyone. She leaves us with the hope that those who do wrong in the music industry will face consequences. She then chooses to leave, as answering questions might upset her. So, what do you think? Guys, is Niykee saying true? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more news updates. Thanks for watching.